in France, there was like this old rule that said if you are a woman, you couldn't actually own property or business without your either father or husband's consent. But there was a loophole if you were a widow. Hey everyone, we are here at the Pommery Champagne House in Champagne, France, and there is an amazing story here. So she was married, but then her husband died, so she kept going. She actually had to borrow money in order to keep going, but she invented taking this into England, but she also invented the brut champagne that wasn't so sweet. So prior to this time, champagne was like really, really sweet. It was often served over ice and taken to Russia and France, other places. But to take it to England, they wanted something less sweet. So she invented the brut champagne and took it all over England and just blew this up and made it successful. So the key thing here is that widows back then had a little loophole. So if you were a woman, you couldn't actually own property or business without your either father or husband's consent. So she became a widow and ran it herself and built this incredible empire. So we're here at the Bollinger Champagne House in France, an amazing place, but the story is absolutely fascinating. So Lilly Bollinger inherited this magnificent champagne house when her husband died. Now this is significant because of some really old laws, women generally were not allowed to run a business unless they had the permission of their father or their husband. But there was a loophole if you were a widow. So she went on to run this magnificent place and really develop champagne. And she did two important things in the champagne industry. One, she helped invent disgorgement. This is where the wine, all of the grape skins and the sediment comes to the bottom and you can pull it out and recork the bottle so it's cleaner champagne for everyone to drink. The second thing she did is she, in the early 1960s, went over to the United States, carting her wines all over the place to really help develop champagne in the United States. So we love her to death, always and forever, because we love champagne in the US these days. And it was because of her tenacity and resilience to keep going and building that she is absolutely one of the international women that should be celebrated on International Women's Day. One of the coolest parts about champagne is knowing the history. So Veuve Clicquot, it's a name we've all seen. We've maybe had that champagne, but the key is that Widow Clicquot is the key to it all. So here's what happens. In France, there was like this old rule that said if you are a woman, you cannot own a business unless you had permission from your father or your husband. So listen, her husband died. So that's a loophole for a widow to own a business. So she actually got the business from her husband, went to her stepfather, borrowed money and said, hey, I can do this. And he believed in her, so he lent her the money. Today's money, they say it's like $850,000. So he must have really believed in her. And she turned around and made this into this empire, this incredible business. So she not only recognized that more people needed to try their champagne, enjoy their champagne, she invented some different elements to the champagne. She also took it into Russia. Now this was a time that was controversial, and this was a time that not everybody was in agreement with that, but she hustled, she was resilient, she needed to get it done, which is why she's like one of those international women we should all look at and say, wow, look at what she accomplished during that time. It is absolutely incredible. And I happen to love champagne. I happen to love coming and visiting. So here we are at Veuve Clicquot in Champagne, France. This is the entrance. I'm gonna take you on a quick roundabout. There's all these other elements from tasting rooms to storage rooms. She developed systems that allowed the business to run without her.
That's what you need to do. Business owners, build those systems. All right. Au revoir from France.